My name is Andrew Segal, and I'm a culinary historian. And I find cookbooks fascinating. Probably not for the reasons that you might think. I have cookbooks, and I use them. I have great old classics like The Joy of Cooking, and I have brand new cookbooks, and I have beautiful, oversized coffee table cookbooks. And I've got books that are about food that aren't really cookbooks. I've got On Food and Cooking. I've got the Oxford Companion to Food, to name just a few. But I'm a culinary historian, so these aren't the cookbooks that I really get excited about. Now, I have historic cookbooks in reproduction. I've got Mrs. Beeton's, a classic, famous cookbook. I have Apicius, the oldest cookbook in existence. I've got the French Cook by Varenne. I've got the Viandier of Taillevent. And these are very interesting reproductions of early cookbooks with commentary that can be very helpful. But these two aren't the cookbooks that I get really excited about. The cookbooks that I really love are the ones like this. The Improved Housewife, a book of receipts, including engravings for marketing and carving by a married lady, published in 1848. And it's not just a cookbook, actually. It's also got medicines and cures. It does have the section on meats and carving. It's got recipes, if you will, for cleaning and maintaining the home. And this was owned by a real person. This was owned by a woman in the mid-19th century. And she used this book. She used this book so hard that it's falling apart. In fact, there's even stuff stuck to the back. Maybe with food? No. With pinned. She's pinned additional recipes onto the back. She's a homemaker. She has pins. It's 1848. Staplers hadn't been invented. Paper clips hadn't been invented. Tape had been invented, but it was really just being used in medical situations. It wasn't being used in the home. She had pins. She was a homemaker. She wanted to keep additional recipes with her cookbook. She pinned them into the cookbook. And I find that really exciting. Another of my absolute favorite cookbooks is this one here. This is The Jewish Home Beautiful. And again, this too is not just a cookbook. It's actually a guide for Jewish homemakers, describing each of the Jewish holidays throughout the year, giving recipes, descriptions and discussion of the holiday, and also place settings for a table for that holiday. This book was published by the Women's League of the United Synagogue of America from 1941 to 1975. This copy is from 1941, and it's falling apart. It's falling apart. And it's such an interesting document of an actual woman, an actual cook, an actual woman who owned a home. And we can guess that she's a woman because this was written by the Women's League. It was intended for women housewives, Jewish women housewives. It makes reference to the woman in the home and her role in holidays throughout the year. So we can guess that she's a woman. And just look at this. This is just great. She cooked. She cooked from this book. She used this book. She made a mess of this book. And we know she came to this book because it's a mess. This page here is for the Sabbath holiday, which comes around each week. And it's for noodles and kugel and a recipe called cholent. We can imagine her pulling out this book and cooking from it. We don't know anything about her as a homemaker. She may have been a very, very neat homemaker, but when she was in the kitchen, she was cooking. And this was the book that she was using, reaching for week after week after week. And I happen to have another copy of this book. This one is a much more recent copy from 1958. It's not nearly as worn out. The owner of this cookbook didn't have quite as many years to wear it out, but also we can guess that she, a woman, a Jewish woman, used this book. And we can go to that page, and we can look at these recipes, and we say, well, wait a minute, maybe she didn't use this book. Maybe she owned it, but didn't really cook from it. But she did. She's left notes. She's written all through this book. Here she tells us that she prefers margarine over shortening in her potato kugel, and she wants to substitute ginger for cinnamon. Here's a recipe. This is for the Purim holiday for Hamantaschen. And we can see she's left a note for herself. See page 101 from the Treasure for My Daughter cookbook. Purim comes around once a year. And so when she pulls this book out for Purim, she wants to remind herself that she doesn't like this recipe. The one she wants is from Treasure for My Daughter. And I think that's so much more exciting because it's a real person. It's a real person cooking, a real woman, a real moment in time. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I start to feel like I know these women. I know these women. I don't know if you feel it or not, but I feel like I know these women. I know that she's a homemaker. I know that she's a homemaker. I know that she's a homemaker. I know that she doesn't have staples and paper clips available to her, but she wants to preserve things with her cookbook. I have a friend who volunteers at the local library, and her volunteer job is to go through the books that are donated to the library and divide up which ones are going to be put into the library's collection and which will be sold at the annual sale to raise money for the library. And she said she knew that I was interested in cookbooks, and she asked me if there was anything I was looking for. She could keep an eye out for it and let me know if a book I was looking for showed up. And I said, yes, I want the books that are written in. I want the books that are worn out. I want the books that are falling apart. And she said, oh, well, we throw those away. We can't put those in the collection. We can't lend those out. And we certainly can't sell them to the public. We throw them away. And I said, no, these are the exciting books. These are the really interesting books. We can print as many copies as we want of this beautiful coffee table book. We can print as many copies as we want of The Joy of Cooking, but there's only one of these. This book tells a story. If you read it closely, if you look at it closely, this cookbook tells the story of a woman cooking, preparing for her family, maintaining the holidays of her religion, and this can't be replaced. This can't be reproduced. And that's why I find cookbooks fascinating.